Every video and episode of the It's Cavalier podcast is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoy the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos, podcasts, member shoutouts, and more. And as always, thank you for watching. Go Cavs. Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac. And tonight, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Boston Celtics in their third game of this four-game preseason slate. And right off the bat, it was clear that one thing was being emphasized. But before we get there, do your boy a favor and smash that like button. Subscribe to keep the NBA content coming and hit that notification bell so you stay locked in all offseason. Now, right off the bat, it was clear that Cleveland was prioritizing health. And who could blame them, right? It is just preseason. We know how big a deal that health is to this Cleveland Cavaliers team. And with that being said, that meant that we did have a great opportunity to, at the very least, watch some of the young up-and-coming talent that we've been fawning over to get some serious minutes. And that is exactly what happened. Ladies and gentlemen, feast your eyes on this starting lineup, because I'm not going to lie to you, it's a fucking doozy. It truly is. You had Craig Porter Jr. starting at point in place of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, who had been starting at point up to this point. Tyrese Proctor drew the start at the 2, Jalen Tyson at the 3, Dean Wade, who's probably going to catch a lot of flack from this performance, at the 4, and Larry Nance Jr., a player who figures to see the bulk of the Cavaliers' backup 5 minutes and some backup 4, drawing the start at center for the Cleveland Cavaliers against Boston. And if you watch this one throughout, you automatically noticed a couple of things. One of the biggest things to take into consideration is that while most of the Cavaliers' typical rotation players were out of this one, right? Only players that figure to be in the playoff rotation for this team from this game is very likely Larry Nance Jr. and Dean Wade. Maybe one or two others if things shake out a certain way, but more or less, Larry and Dean are probably the only ones to truly take stock of to some degree, juxtaposed to the Boston Celtics, who were actually playing a considerable amount of their rotation regulars. And we know they're trying to incorporate a lot of new pieces over there after some of the moving parts from this offseason. But Jaylen Brown played about 22 minutes. Sam Hauser, who's been a big part of the rotation over there over the years, played about 17 minutes. Chris Boucher, one of their newer pieces, played a little under 11. Peyton Pritchard, the sixth man of the year from just this past season, he ended up playing 23 minutes or so. Derek White, another all-star caliber guard out there, playing 22 minutes. And, a couple of other pieces who figure to be in that rotation this year, whether that be Anthony Simons, Luka Garza, Nehemiah Queta, who will be taking on a larger role, presumably with KP and Al Horford no longer in the mix. But I say all this to say, because you're probably wondering, why the hell am I going down the list of players that suited up for Boston? I say all of this to say that this is a Boston Celtics team who went out there with the team game plan of giving their regulars a ton of minutes. Cleveland, they were prioritizing health. Moreover, you got to take what you saw tonight with a massive grain of salt. I've seen way too many overreactions already. I'm not going to truly beat anybody down. All I'm going to say is, listen, the Cavaliers B and C team played tonight. A lot of these guys that you saw tonight play are not going to be touching the floor in the regular season, or not even getting to grace it in any capacity come the playoffs. But you have to take everything you saw tonight with a grain of salt. The Cavaliers, as a team, shot 36 of 102. They put up 102 shots tonight. They shot 35.3% on those. Probably worse than that is that they shot 12 of 60. Yes, you heard that right. They attempted 60 shots. If the math over on NBA.com is correct, if it adds up correctly, they attempted 60 triples tonight. 15 more than the Boston Celtics, who we know are pretty three happy. But the difference between the two is that while Boston did manage to make 40% of their triples, Cleveland shot 20%. So it was not a good showing at all from an efficiency standpoint for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. And that led many to believe that, man, these guys are going to be terrible or they're going to really struggle come the regular season. The bench is woeful, yada, yada, yada. I've seen a lot of different things being said already. And I'm like, geez, Louise, just relax, chill. Because when something you need to be aware of is that Lonzo did not play tonight. Obviously, Sam Merrill has not played in the preseason, and Max Strus is going to be out for at least the first half of the season. Those figure to be three of your bigger bench or reserve pieces when all are healthy, especially come the playoffs. Those three are huge. And when they do return, the Cavaliers are going to look much different than they will presumably not only now, but at the start of the season and just a little over a week and a half away. So I don't worry as much about that. Now, there are little things that we have to take note of that you're going to have to track throughout the start of the season, like Dean Wade, right? Dean Wade is a player who is going to get a lot of flack for his performance tonight. One of the bigger rotational pieces who did manage to suit up. He played about 25 minutes. He shot 1 of 8 from the field and 0 of 7 from three-point distance. He was a minus 28. Wasn't even the lowest plus minus on the team, but still though, minus 28, put up 3 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. Listen, the thing about Dean Wade, you cannot have it both ways. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. One of the biggest complaints about Dean Wade that we have often seen is that he is not confident enough. He doesn't take the three-point shot enough when it's presented to him. He fails to pull the trigger when he has enough space. He did that tonight. The problem was that he just did not knock those shots down. He wasn't the only Cavalier to have this problem. Many Cavaliers struggled. As I pointed to already, they shot 12 of 60 from three-point distance. But Dean Wade is going to be singled out in particular because a lot of people have already made up their minds on Dean. And listen, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. All I'm here to say is that you cannot have your cake and eat it too. Either you want Dean to take the shot or not. To me, yes, it sucks that he went 0 of 7 from the three-point range, but I am more concerned with the fact that he was taking them in the first place. I know that on paper, theoretically, Dean Wade can knock down that shot. We have seen him do it. We've seen him do it in big moments, but we have not seen him do it in the playoffs. This confidence in being able to take that shot is what truly matters the most to me. Even if you go 0 of 7, get that shit out in the preseason, get all your inefficiency out earlier on in the season. I am not necessarily worried about Dean Wade being unable to knock down that shot. I'm just more concerned with the fact that he was taking it. And that to me is a good thing, regardless if he goes 1 of 8, 1 of 7, 1 of 6. I don't care. Just take the shot, pull the trigger. And the same can be said for another player who may or may not catch a lot of flack, which in my opinion, doesn't deserve it, but people are going to look at that stat sheet and they're going to say one thing or another. And that, my friends, is Larry Nance Jr. This is Larry Nance Jr.'s stat line from tonight. 11 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, 2 of 10 from the field, 1 of 6 from three-point distance, and 6 of 7 from the charity stripe. Now, obviously, the first thing that's going to stick out to you when you look at this is the field goal percentage. 2 out of 10 shots is not a good thing. 1 out of 6 from three-point distance is not a good thing. Larry Nance Jr. has not been efficient this preseason in terms of the three-point shot. But the versatility is what sticks out to me. The ability to be so mobile out there, getting those backup 5 minutes, a place where a lot of people are starting to wonder, hey, should Thomas Bryant get those minutes? I'm not there. I'm not there. Here's the thing. I think that when you acquired Larry Nance Jr., and there was a lot of conversation apparently between the Cavaliers deciding between the likes of Larry and Thomas, and they ended up with both, obviously. But the one thing that you could say is that when the Cavaliers acquired Larry Nance Jr., so many people were happy about the versatility that this dude brings to the table. So many people were excited about the fact that Larry can space the floor and rebound and defend and is multi-positional enough to be able to do a lot of these things that backup fives on this roster have not been able to do for a long time now. And he's been able to do that. But through these first 3 preseason games, people are looking at the stat lines and they're tripping, man. They're trying to find the right word for it. I just think people are overreacting. That's probably the most optimal word that I can use in regard to Larry Nance Jr.'s preseason efficiency, because it hasn't been great. Prior to tonight, Larry had been averaging 5.5 points and shooting 33.3% from the field, including 0% from 3-point distance, if I'm not mistaken. It has just not necessarily looked great on paper for Larry, but I don't worry about Larry because this is a guy who shot 44.7% from 3-point distance just last season. How quickly people forget how efficient he was. Now, I get it. The sample size was 24 games, but I will take 3.2 attempts from distance on 44.7% any day of the week over 3 measly preseason games. I just don't understand this constant need to overreact to everything that we see during the preseason. And I know I'm guilty of doing it myself before a lot of people come clapping back at me in the chat or the comment section once this posts. But all I'm trying to say to you is that there is evidence to support the fact that Larry Nance Jr. is a reliable 3-point shot. I mean, for his career, Larry is shooting 35.3%, but in back-to-back seasons, he shot over 40% from distance. It is something that is well within his arsenal. He has played the backup center position the last 3 years, whether it be for Atlanta or for New Orleans, but I'm just not worried about the efficiency. And the same can be said about Dean Wade to a degree, right? Yeah, it's a little concerning that they've been unable to do this with an efficient clip, but you take everything that you saw tonight from Larry and you have to put it in a vacuum for one. Two, you have to look at the little things that he does, whether that be boxing out or making that extra pass or the activity that he displays out there, as Tom K in the comment section mentions. There is so much that he brings to the table outside of simply spacing the floor. And I think that I can live with him getting that inefficiency out, whether or not you believe he shot chucking or not in the preseason, because come the regular season and they're on in the playoffs, I fully expect Nance, as long as he is healthy, to provide valuable floor spacing from the 5 and sometimes 4, depending upon the lineups that he plays in. But I'm not going to use this preseason performance uh, to really say one way or another whether or not he should be getting those minutes, because I tend to believe that they acquired him, they brought him in with the belief that he's going to be a big piece out there come the playoffs. And same can be said for some of these other pieces like Lonzo or Thomas Bryant in specific situations. You have to take everything that you saw with a grain of salt. And that goes for some of the some of the other starters here tonight, right? It was not necessarily a great night for everybody out there that started. Craig Porter Jr., after having one hell of a performance in the first preseason game and somewhat of a lackluster performance in the second one, did not have a great showing tonight himself, as he would post just 6 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 2 steals, and was 3 of 9 from the field, including 0 of 4 from 3-point distance. He missed all 4 of his 3-point attempts. Now, for those of you who are wondering, Craig Porter Jr. actually entered tonight as the Cavaliers' leader in terms of made triples throughout this preseason so far, right? He had knocked down 6 of, if I'm not mistaken, he had knocked down 6 throughout the course of the preseason, and he is shooting 75% on those. He had been leading the Cavaliers in this area, which is something that it is flat out awesome. He's 6 of 8 from 3-point distance entering tonight. So that brings him up to 6 of 12, which is not terrible. He's still shooting 50%. But one thing that can be said is the versatility is still clearly there. Still really, really good on the glass, considering his size. Still improving as a facilitator, playmaker out there. Not obviously on the level of Alonzo Ball, Donovan Mitchell, or Darius Garland, but he is improving in that area. I think the decision making has a ways to go, but it's getting better. He is obviously somebody that can get up there to reject shots. He had a nice chase down block tonight and will play hard defensively. And that is more than enough for me. That's all that I could ask at this point, especially considering who the opponent was and how much they played their day one rotation members over in Boston. So, relative to the competition and my expectations, I thought that Craig Porter Jr., while his night could have been better, I do like a lot of the versatile nature of the stat line that we saw from him. That's what I'm trying to say here. Outside of that, you had Jalen Tyson, from an offensive standpoint, kind of better, right? 16 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, a block, was 6 of 14 from the field, which is 42.9%, including 2 of 6 from 3-point distance, which is better. It's improving considering what it had been entering tonight. He had not necessarily been hitting that with any type of efficiency. It just did not look good from him at all. He entered tonight 1 of 8 through the first 2 preseason games. That's 12.5%. So the percentage will increase a bit after tonight's performance, but I think the thing that sticks out to me is simply the volume. Another night where he attempts at least 5 triples. That's what you want to see out of him. You don't want to see him get in his head. You don't want to see him question himself and his ability to knock down those shots, whether that be on the ball or off of it. You just want him to continue taking them because, like I've said the last couple of streams, you don't want this to be an Isaac Okoro situation or a Dean Wade situation where he lacks confidence because the shot isn't falling. You don't want him to fall into that trap of, hey, my shot's not falling. Should I defer? No, continue to take it. And that's what you got from Jalen tonight. And obviously, Boston, they pressured a lot. They tested the ball handling abilities of all of these guards out here. But I still am less concerned with his 3-point shot just because I think that it will come around eventually. Now, there is a question in regard to the bench scoring as a whole, and I completely understand some of the reservations and the questions, especially after losing the Cavaliers' leading bench scorer in Ty Jerome, who is now in Memphis. Hate to see him suit up in those colors, but listen, I can definitely understand why people are a little uneasy about that. As Tom K says, Mac, just realized you went live. Am I crazy to be worried about bench scoring? This is what I can say, right? I think it's going to be sort of a wait and see approach. It might be an early season struggle. It's going to require a lot of adapting. Now, I think all of us recognize the fact that the Cavaliers do not have a solidified bucket getter out there, somebody you can give the rock to and just say, hey, give me a basket. They don't have a guy like that is trusted, proven, tried. They have guys they're trying to develop into that, whether that be Tyson or Proctor or CPJ. But moreover, nevertheless, they don't have that guy waiting. They're going to have to find ways around that. And to me, I think that while DeAndre Hunter is going to start, you're going to play him minutes with reserve lineups to make better use of his ability to score in volume. I also think that we're going to see Donovan Mitchell play with the likes of the reserves too, to try and make up for that lack of bench scoring, sort of like we saw during the 2023-24 season when Darius and Evan were out and you played him on a lot of lineups that emphasized spacing and allowed Donovan to make incredible use of his ability to drive and kick. And that is when we truly saw players like Sam Merrill break out. That's why we saw George Niang in his first season in Cleveland able to put up, a good amount of 3-point shots out there. And I think that's what's probably going to be the case to keep this team afloat in the early going. You're going to need to experiment with these lineups to see what works, how we can get over the loss of Ty Jerome, how we can find that bench scoring. Because as we know, Lonzo, that's not really his bag. He's more of a connector. Dean, obviously not that guy. Larry, not that type of guy. Craig Porter Jr. still developing in that area. Jalen Tyson, the jury is out on right now. We just don't really know. We hope he develops into that. That would be great. and some of the other pieces, right? Too young, too inexperienced to truly be dependent upon come the playoffs, whether that be Tyrese, Proctor, or otherwise. So I think that the concern is valid, and I definitely understand it, and I know why people are worried. But I just urge people to be patient. I urge people just to, we're going to go through some of these lumps early on, and you're going to see some experimentation that's going to leave you scratching your head, and maybe we lose some games because of it. But I think they will ultimately get it ironed out. And once Max comes back, once Sam comes back, once Darius is out there, I think that's less of a concern because between the likes of Darius, Donovan, DeAndre, and Evan, you're going to have enough in the scoring department to place guys in different lineups to emphasize that and make use of it. Like, this is a season where I think we all expect Evan Mobley to take that like an even bigger leap than he did last year. And I think a lot of that is simply going to be added touches, added usage, added uh, ball handling, and ultimately self creation. And if you're placing him in lineups where he is getting the bulk of the touches, or you're featuring him as the number one option, I think that is another way for you to make up for the loss of a Ty Jerome and so much bench production that departed with him. But I can definitely understand it after watching games like tonight and frankly watching the Cavaliers in preseason. But absolutely nothing that I've seen has me truly worried because we're not really playing with the full deck of cards here, and most of the bench that is expected to be in the regular rotation did not suit up tonight, with the exception of Wade and Larry and presumably CPJ. I really don't know what the plan is there, but I think that with Lonzo being managed and obviously Darius not beginning the season in the lineup, uh, Craig is going to get his opportunities, and I hope he makes the best of them. Neverbloom says, man, we just couldn't land any open shots. It felt like, I know it's preseason, but disappointing a bit. Yeah, I think that certain players were getting to their spots tonight and they just could not knock down that shot. There were more than a few possessions in which the ball was moving, right? I saw some synergy out there. I'm trying to find the best word. There was some synergy out there, whether that be Larry making that extra pass, or Craig, or Tyrese, or Jalen swinging the rock around the perimeter. They were open, but they just could not knock down the shots. And that was a lot of what happened with Dean tonight. There were more than a few opportunities that he had from above the break and from the corners where he could have knocked it down. He had the opening, but they just did not fall. And that was more often the case with most of these guys. So I'm not necessarily concerned, but we'll have to. It'll be something to keep an eye on. Certainly, certainly. Tom K says, not worried about preseason results, but wish we didn't see Chicago twice and then have Charge play the Celtics. Yeah, that's essentially what it was. It was the Cleveland Charge versus the Boston Celtics. That's essentially what it was. Um, John Turner says Dean Wade irritates me. And listen, I am not here to poo-poo on anybody's opinions. I'm not going to do that. All I'm going to do is provide a safe space to vent. All right. And for me, the most important thing to me is Dean taking the shot. I can completely understand why people would be upset with him not making them. But to me, it's more important for him to have the confidence to take the shot than to worry about the percentages so early on. I don't get it. Tom K says, cannot wait for DG and Max to get healthy. You and me both, man. I cannot wait until these guys get back into the flow here. Max, we're probably not going to see until mid-December, maybe January, and then DG. Honestly, I do not know what the timetable is on him. I think he'll probably be out until mid-November. Maybe we get lucky though, and he comes back after the first couple of games. I know that there's just been so much reported on him being in basketball activities and being able to work out and whatnot, but you never truly know. And obviously, I'm not a Cavs insider. I'm just a fan, a spectator like you guys. But I'm hoping that he returns to the court quicker than than expected, the initial timeline. But we'll have to see. Let us talk about Tyrese Proctor, shall we? Versus the Boston Celtics tonight. Tyrese Proctor put up 12 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, had a steal tonight, was 5 of 14 from the field, including 2 of 9 from three-point distance. The Cavaliers rook continues to show little things that really excite me in terms of self-creation, the pull-up game. And I've had a lot of comments recently about, hey, why did we not see this from Tyrese Proctor at the collegiate level with Duke? And I'm like, listen, he was doing it. He was doing it. You have to understand who he played with. Like all 5 of the players in that Duke starting lineup, they all went to the NBA. And Tyrese, more often than not, was off the ball. So he got a lot of catch and shoot triples. He did take the occasional pull up, but that is why you didn't see that as much with Duke because of who he played with. Now in the NBA environment where they're giving him those touches, they're giving him that usage, it makes sense that he would look more like he is capable of self-creating. And that's the type of developments that really like that you have to take stock in. It's not the percentages. It's like, okay, this guy's attempting this shot. This guy is showing that this is in his skill set and his wheelhouse, and that he has the ability to put the ball on the floor, attack the basket, et cetera, et cetera. And that's in addition to the catch and shoot ability. The percentages are not going to be kind at times, especially for a rookie guard, but having that confidence out there, showcasing that ability and that diverse skill set is what matters to me the most here. And I think Tyrese, the ball handling, the playmaking, the secondary ball handling out there, that is what has intrigued me outside of the self creation. That is what might get him on the court a little bit earlier on, outside of just simply that 3-point shot. And then the defensive effort, that too, that matters as well. I think Tyrese honestly has really impressed me on that end because we know like the measurables, we know what they say. He's around 6'4", 6'5", with a 6'7" and a quarter wingspan. I know there's a joke in there somewhere, but that is what the measurables were at the NBA draft combine. And we know that one of the knocks on him was that he is more comfortable defending 2s and 3s rather than 1s and 2s. But what I've seen from him is that his positioning and his hustle out there, especially on the defensive end, have been really, really impressive. They've been locked in. He's been showcasing his abilities on that end. And I think being able to be a catch and shoot guy while being productive defensively, or at the very least being a non-net negative, that is what will get him in a role sooner rather than later. And so to me, Tyrese Proctor, as long as he continues to showcase this type of stuff, it'll only be a matter of time before he climbs into the back end of this rotation. I don't think that'll be this year. So let's just get that out of the way right now. I think with Merrill and Strus and Craig all being there, in addition to the regular rotation pieces, I just think that there's too much of an uphill battle for us to expect him to be anything more than the 11th or 12th man on the roster from day one. Could that change? Yeah, but I just don't think entering the season, I don't want to place those expectations on him. But man, I don't know how this dude went in the second round, let alone 49th overall. He is definitely a first round talent, in my opinion. And I think that if he was on a team that sucked or a lottery bound, he would be getting those touches that you see players like Ace Bailey get, right? You're just, with the situation that he is in, he is going to be able to learn. He's going to be able to observe, and there's not going to be too much of an expectation or pressure placed on him to produce from day one. And that's always a good thing for a rookie, especially in a society where we all want it now, like microwave. But I'll tell you what, I really, really am impressed with what the Rook has brought to the table through these first 3 games. Efficiency be damned. And I can't wait to see how the season goes for Tyrese Proctor. Outside of that, another player that I want to highlight before we get out of here is Thomas Bryant, who managed to put up 11 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, was 4 of 9 from the field, including 2 of 7 from 3-point distance. And this is where we get to the Larry Nance Jr. and Thomas Bryant conversation, or should I say Larry Nance Jr. versus Thomas Bryant conversation that people want to turn it into. Because Thomas, obviously, when he was brought in, the one thing that sticks out is the physicality that he can bring to the table. I know the 3-point shot is always going to be a sticking point here. The ability to space the floor out of the center position is always nice to have, although he went 2 of 7 from deep tonight. But I think that the versatility that Larry has is what gives him the leg up. His ability to play not only the four or not only the five, but the four and an emergency three at this point in his career is what gives him the automatic leg up. That combined with the fact that Evan Mobley is due to get a good amount of backup 5 minutes to make use of his ability to space the floor because he is a total offensive mismatch at the five. You're gonna make use of that. Jarrett Allen's to start at the five. Evan Mobley will get backup 5 minutes, and Larry Nance Jr. is going to be your predominant backup five. That leaves Thomas Bryant in the precarious situation of being likely a situational big or a guy who will come in when one of these regular rotation pieces are struggling or you need a different look because you're facing off against a Mitchell Robinson or a Miles Turner, a Jokic, or somebody like that, somebody that you're going to need a beefier body out there for. So I can certainly understand why people want Thomas to be out there, but I just think that we have to set our expectations so that we're not disappointed because this team is just so damn stacked in that front court now. We went from having absolutely zero depth to having maybe the one of the deeper front courts in the entire NBA between Evan, Jarrett, Larry, Thomas, and Dean, and sometimes Hunter, right? So this is just such a deep roster now, deep front court that Thomas is not going to be expected to play every night. I do think that in the early going, as they tend to manage some of their guys, Larry included, that Thomas is going to be somebody who they call on more often than not, especially more than Tristan Thompson or Robin Lopez before him had been. So it's nice to have that depth, and it's nice to have playable depth. Damn it, that's all I'm trying to say here. But overall, I just think that you have to take tonight's performance as a whole and just kind of just throw it out, right? There are little bits and pieces that you can take with you, but moreover, you just really have to understand how to discern between what is going to be able to be applied to the regular season. What can we carry over to the regular season? And there wasn't much tonight. And you're going to have games like that, especially during the preseason where the Cavaliers they don't win, but nobody cares. Nobody cares about preseason wins or losses. And that's the way it should be. I cannot wait until the regular season starts. I cannot wait to get my classic edition jersey, right? I can't wait on all of these things. But if you guys want to reach out to me, now you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to this Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you an invite. If you want to support the pod in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon or YouTube. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Go Cavs.